All right, hey everyone, happy Friday, happy weekend. Hope you all had a good 4th of July. I overdosed on barbecue last night, so we're doing this tonight instead of last night. This is Helldivers Quest, Drop 4. To vote, after this stream ends, I'll be adding the comments in the video on YouTube. And you can vote by liking the comment that you want. Also, I'm trying a new format with this where I'm trying to PowerPoint slides to have the text on screen as I'm reading it out loud, because I think that might help. Feel free to give me any feedback if you like the slides, if you think they're hard to read, or if you just think they look good. Other notes. Oh yeah, I got the commission finished by Dark Pulse GG on the top left there, with the that fun concert singing meme with the Dio pogging out. It's cool. I think that's all the notes I have. So, let's get into this with Helldivers Quest, Drop 4. Last time we dropped onto the world of Aesir Pass. We snuck through the southern morass and crept up onto the Automaton base in the southern area of the AO, where you spotted another person across the base, because you had your flashlights on that automatons can't see. They're not programmed that way. It's fine. But with some signaling, you then decided to regroup with this individual at a abandoned building eastern through the automaton base. So let's get into it with Part 1, Aesir Pass, the Southern Morass, June 10th, 2184, Operation Saving Minuteman. You begin signaling your intent by waving your carbine's flashlight at the abandoned building, then blinking the light off and on. Whoever is hiding on the upper walkways of the automaton fabrication base reciprocates, then starts to move, their flashlight bobbing until slipping away behind towers and obstructions. Course set, you begin to crawl backwards, off the southern berm's lip, until you notice your squattie's still there, looking between you and the bot army in confusion. Sierra, you hiss, waving her to follow. Later, we'll fight later. We're going to see whoever that is first. Oh, Sierra 2 says, understanding now, then clambers along the code muddy heap to follow. Once below the top, hidden from the robotic troopers, you get up and pull Sierra along. Come on. Keep your eyes and ears open. I have no idea if that person can sneak back out, but let's not be the ones to ruin the rendezvous. I don't like this. We haven't seen any patrols, she whines after a minute of jogging through the muck. It is weird, but stay calm. You know, we might be the first Helldivers to dive behind enemy lines instead of the front, surrounded, where we can do the most damage. Hold up. You skid to a stop in the slippery muck, holding out your left arm to stop Sierra from sliding past you or falling. A distant whining drone creeps into the air. You both look around for several seconds until figuring out that it is coming from the west. Once you creep up the berm for a look, you immediately realize the source. Automaton dropships. 4 of them have just pulled up to hover over the tank assembly yard of the fabrication hub, the quad engine nacelles flaring before the ships level off. Then, the 4 tanks detach and slam into the ground with heavy thumps felt through the ground despite the distance. The tanks sit idle for a full minute. Then, just as you start back down the berm, one of them rumbles to life and begins to roll around on its tracks, repositioning further west where there is a larger break in the walls and trench network beyond. Are you sure we don't have any stratagems? AT? Sierra asks, groaning as you push her down the hill. No, but we're not pissing those off right now, you order. You continue at a light jog behind the berm's height. Occasionally, you slow to a dawdle when hearing automaton synthesized chatter with the clanking of machinery on the other side. A few times, you leave Sierra to crawl up again, peeking above to track your progress and get the lay of the enemy base. The farther from the mass formation of gunned and blade troopers you get, the more unfamiliar the base is. Closer to the army is a familiar sight, but scaled up from anything you have seen on occupied planets. Rows upon rows of rectangular cages stacked into columns. Each can hold several dozen people with no concern for comfort, the living or the dead. These normally store human bodies, and are not uncommon around bot fabricators for reasons unknown and reasons unspeculated. Officially. Here, they are all empty save for old bloodstains on the bars and lingering scraps of uniforms or the odd dismembered limb. Further on are sides entirely new. Blackened structures topped by metal coils hissing with scarlet electricity that arcs and pops between the buildings. Then, a monolithic slab of the building. It is squat, square, and unreasonably wide. An annoying vibration disturbs the cold air and the pressures of your inner ear and sinuses as you pass by it, seeing no lights, vents, windows, or doors to the low but massive box construction. You have a camera or anything? You ask, upon returning to Sierra. I wish, she says with off. But we would get a new cape or bonus time for sleeping if we bought back pictures. You nod, then shrug and continue on, nearing your destination. For all we know, these are commonplace. We only know the front lines. Sorry for more stutters than usual. Fridays are when I change out my Invisalign braces, so slurring and stuttering more than usual today. Part 2. Aesir Pass. Automaton Fabrication Hub. Music. The racket of automatons slows you before you can see the second story of the lone surviving building emerge from the other side of the winding berm. After convincing Sierra to stay behind and not make any sound, you slither up the muddy slope and spy less trouble than expected. More than a little indignant, your Helldiver pride is almost wounded to see only 3 troopers milling about. In unison, they hum the grating static of their marching cadence. The tune is altered, shifted lower than usual, as they alternate swinging the sledgehammers in the place of their right hands. In a coordinated effort, they bang them on one of the boulders surrounding the old colonial building in the middle. Scattered rocky debris litters the dead undergrowth, while the trudging paths and the mud mark where former boulders have already been broken down and hauled away before the space can be cleared out. For humans, this would be back-breaking work reserved as a punishment detail in the worst of the re-democratization camps. Yet the automatons execute this function with the same unflinching patience as all their tasks. A glimmer of white light across the clearing catches your eye. Somewhere behind the industrial bins of raw materials, stone for construction and salvaged material for fabrication, is the mystery survivor lurking through the storage yards. Bobbing red lights and echoing synthetic barks show the path of bot workers the person is slowly weaving around, quietly but surely approaching. You turn and begin a laborious sequence of hand signals to Sierra. First, miming for her to stay silent, then for her to crawl up to you, slowly. You repeat yourself to make sure she understands. Finally, she joins you atop the berm, overlooking the automaton trio. You drag her belly across the ground, getting up to her side to whisper as quietly as possible. The half flares. If we are fast and silent, we can drop them before they can signal. Sierra starts to pull up her Liberator carbine, but stops with her hand on her shoulder. She stares silently for a long moment as you hold up a throwing knife, then draws one of her own and quietly asks, "Did DO give you an instruction manual for these?" You stare back, then shake your head. "They're knives. We throw them, like grenades. What's to know?" She hesitates again, trying different ways to hold the knife in her cybernetic hand. Eventually, she settles on holding the blade's tip between her thumb and pointer. "But in the movies, they hold them like this, see? It's cooler." "Do you see a camera Jones shooting us?" you ask and look up to the empty charcoal sky for effect. "No." "Whatever. You throw it your way. Just be ready to throw another before they can react." With that said, you begin to experiment with wrenching your arm back, only to find Sierra's bulk in your way. Charlie? "They always are standing in the movies when they throw these." "Just fine," you hiss. "Liberty's sake, let's just do this." Rising to one knee, you pop up from the berm's crest and chuck the knife in your right hand, gripped by the thin handle with all your might. The knife flutters in dense, humid air with a tumbling arc, ultimately slapping the compacted dirt around the building. It lands several feet short of the nearest automaton, closer to you than it, and left of the one you were aiming for. Meanwhile, Sierra's knife shears through the air, flung by the pneumatic force of her arm and embeds itself into the exterior of the building, contributing to its mud, blood, and scorched pockmarks. You grab Sierra's shoulders and throw yourselves to the ground, flopping down just as the nearest bot emits an elongated chirp. Red lights blink below, and the strained cadence stops as the 3 workers stop to look around, scanning. None of them notice either knife. After a dozen seconds, the cadence resumes, as does their striking of the boulder. You press the chin of your muck-coated helmet up against Sierra's. You said you practiced. With the grenades, she whispers back. You said throw it like grenades. You seethe, adrenaline pumping from your combat instincts, editing with proximity to the enemy in combat. Quiet, it's fine. We're fine. This is fine. They didn't notice. We try again. Ready? Sierra nods, drawing a knife with you. Together, you rise to your knees and fling your blades, trying it her way. The tip of the blade nicks her glove on its way out of your hand, catching on the tough fabric guarding your flesh and flailing to the mud again. Sierra's knife strikes true, thunking into the far bot worker so hard that it is flung backward, disappearing into a waterlogged hole with a splash. Finding success, she draws another knife but pauses, fumbling to position it correctly in her robotic hand. You draw another knife, with the nerves and temper flaring, only for it to slip out of your grasp. As you look down your body, going for a 4th knife, but then drawing your sidearm to prepare for the worst, you hear another sharp thunk of Sierra's next knife, taking out a scanning automaton. Red light glares and refracts through the dense mist, enveloping the area in a harsh ambient light. At first, you think it is a flare launched to signal an automated dropship of reinforcements. Then, as you raise your weapon to the last bot worker, aligning the heavy handgun's iron sights to its center mass, you realize that it has turned around from you two. Another figure, drenched and dark with mud, is charging up from around the building's corner. The automaton raises his arm, either to shoot a flare or strike at its attacker, but does not get a chance as the new Helldiver barrels into the bot, breaking its middle back against the boulder it was hammering on seconds ago. You move fast after shooting glares all around to ensure no other work groups have noticed and activated from this disturbance. You say, "Inside, bring the bodies!" Along the way, you pick up your fallen knives, but find Sierra stuck in the side of the building, now an immovable fixture. Get some tea. Earl Grey. Part 3. The Storage Yards. Tango 3 accepts Sierra's 2's open arms for a hug. Somehow, despite already being coated in mud from the lowlands, she steps away dirtier, accidentally wiping away some of his caked oil, soot, and muck. It reveals the yellow trim paint of his patchwork armor plates and how dents and gouges mar each salvaged piece. Tango's B-01 uniform is actually a crude reconstruction, not an original standard issue set. "When did you drop? We didn't see your pod," Sierra asks. He shrugs. "Weeks? I was counting days with notches, but lost the bracer." She stares for a few seconds before startling. "What? How? We didn't even drop with food." "Noise," you hiss, stepping away from making sure all 3 automaton workers are totally inert with a knife. Their blood and oil coat you. He shrugs again. "Militia oatmeal?" Tango turns as you step up to him, initially moving to accept the hug he thinks you're offering. Instead, you scrape the worst of the layered and camouflaging dirt from his breastplate. Then, with your hand, swipe enough off to reveal the few scratches you recognize as letters, forming words. "Remember Malevolon, huh?" You ask, letting him take the knife from you to look it over. "Which battle?" After helping himself to take one of the stacks of knife sheaths from your rigging, he shrugs once more. "All of them? Cool kit. New warbond?" Figures our Creeker would be skulking around. We're being forced to test them while extracting a Ministry of Truth team from a SEAF training facility. Have you been in contact with them? As you talk, Tango gives your Liberator carbine a speculative eye. For a moment, you get your hopes up that you can trade for his last 16 sickle, but he stops short of picking up your shortened assault rifle from your hip to place a protective palm on his laser rifle. He then rolls his shoulders. "Yeah, nah. I stopped by a while back, but not since the Clinkers rolled over this muck heap. I know the team you're talking about, though. They're still performing, raising morale. The Helldiver, Whiskey, sounded like she was going to be leading some raids. No idea if she's still alive. Someone in the training base is putting up a fight, though, or no toasters would be entrenched here. What about the democracy officer, Valton, you ask? I saw him, then kept low so he didn't see me, Tango answers, then hesitates, noticing Sierra's stare. Nothing against him or his lawful orders, mine, but you know, I got my own deal worrying about upstairs. There's no destroyers in orbit. Sierra starts to shout again, but flinches and quiets down under your gaze. Tango starts to shrug, but has to step aside as you walk between them. You feign interest in the workstation across the room as an excuse to break them up a little. Then I'm sure my DO is safe in another system, hoping that the light of democracy keeps me safe, just like my mama. Enough of that, you say. We've got a mission, and you're on our roster now, which means I'm your squad leader. Welcome to Super Operations Detachment Sigma. Ah, shit. Wait, what now? After finishing your feint of rummaging around the abandoned junk on the desk, you return to slap his shoulder, knocking grime off his body. It's complicated. Doesn't matter. You're with us, Tango. Now, we saw some tanks massing near the armor fabricators, and the Hellbomb and the Clank army back there. We also know about the anti-air batteries west of the SEAF base and the Jammer north. We have to knock those out before we get our extraction shuttles. And it looks like the salvagers are approaching a complex out east. What else can you tell me about this AO? That the Clankers are prepping those eastern ranges for a line of mortars. I was last out that way. They had already got their trenches dug and foundations set. They ain't torn through them. They ain't torn through too much of the main facility there yet, but once they do and build the mortars, the SEAF base will get blown to hell. Then they'll probably march in the army they're mustering here. At least that's how I've seen the boss clean up resistance pockets before. While listening, you study the static map on your left wrist tablet. Unlike normal missions, it lacks the live data feed from the Super Destroyer, and had only what was synchronized before your dive. Now, it has your notes on the Automaton artillery construction. Great, you sigh. Anything else? Yeah, there's an old missile facility southeast here. In the woods, past the end of the berm. I think everyone forgot about it on account of the flooding, but lights are still on. Oh, Sierra says. We could launch it at the jammers and air defenses. While Tango nods, approving of the idea, you cringe. Those silos are ICBMs, you state. Air. Nukes, you explain, holding out your arms for emphasis. Big ones, that wipe out entire AOs. Multiple AOs. You know, the big explosions when you launch one? They nod. That, but we would be in the middle of it, and dead. Tango shrugs. Just have to hit it farther away then. You flinch at the suggestion and stare back as Sierra takes a turn nodding with approval back at him. Then, a grating synthesized work cadence approaches from outside, ending the conversation. The automatons get louder until they stop outside the building, and the sound of sledgehammers and banging on boulders begins anew. You need to make a decision and get the mission moving. Once you start making noise, however, it'll be a fight across the AO to your other objectives. It is now option time. Again, once this stream is over, I'll add the comments below this video, and you can like which plan you want to happen next time. And vote will be called Monday night during that stream. And then Thursdays are the regular drops for this quest. So now, plan 1, Southern Sabotage. Stop the massing formation from attacking the SEAF facility, also reducing local enemy forces. Plan 2, Southeastern Strike. Investigate the launch facility and commandeer it, quickly removing objectives from the area of operations. Radiation may be a problem. Plan 3, Eastern Sabotage. Stop the salvage operation and construction at the training ranges to prevent enemy support, also potentially looting weapons. Again, vote by liking the plan in the comments below. I'm having to be a little bit more careful about how I phrase these options, because I found the last few times that certain words or phrases get auto-deleted in the comments by YouTube. So, more violent and military-sounding phrases I think I have to avoid. Hopefully all of these will fly the automatic censors. We'll find out in a few minutes. But now, that is Helldivers Quest Drop 4. Let's hear the horns. Hope you all enjoyed that. Vote will be called Monday night. Vote over the weekend, vote Monday. If you like this, feel free to like and subscribe. Also, read some public domain books, play some Vidya. Helldivers, of course. Also been playing Starship Troopers. Been thinking of playing Armored Core 6 and Truck Simulator. American version, because I don't drive on the left side of the road. But that's what we get up to here, along with some RPG designing, creative exercises, stuff like that. Good times. Well, feel free to stick around and explore the channel. Catch you all Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.